And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg went from stop and frisk, which targeted minorities, to now free turkey legs, gumbo, chicken tenders, and red punch in Houston tonight. He was in town to push his Mike for Black America campaign. That's despite not even being on the ballot at the Ohio caucus. In less than 2 weeks of time, the former mayor of New York City has made his run for the White House seem like a plausible goal. Bloomberg was in Houston tonight unveiling his plan for Black America. Now, Bloomberg pledged to deliver health care to millions, battle climate change, fix a broken immigration system, and pass new gun safety laws. And you know he could not address the stop and frisk elephant in the room. Take a listen.
Tonight, we are creating Mike for Black America because I am committed to using the power of the presidency to right the wrongs of institutional racism wherever they exist, in our schools, workplaces, prisons, courtrooms, and our healthcare system and housing market. The most important job I'm going to have is to defeat Donald Trump this November. And start getting big things done and start putting the united back in the United States of America. Many of the ways we tried to reduce gun violence and invest in communities were right, and we reduced murder by 50%. There is one aspect, an approach that I deeply regret, the abuse of a police practice called stop and frisk. I defended it, looking back, for too long because I didn't understand then the unintended pain it was causing to young Black and brown families and their kids. I should have acted sooner and faster to stop it. I didn't, and for that I apologized.
Now here to react to Bloomberg's plan are political activist Candace Weber, Jordan Wilson, and political commentator Justin Laurie. So I was glad I was actually in the room tonight on the ground because so many people came to me. Their skepticism. They leaned in. Isiah, what do you think? What do you think? I heard that all night long. They're not quite sure what to think of Mike Bloomberg because of his past, formerly being a Republican, where you worked with him before in the past, Mike, Justin, and also the stop and frisk. So taking a look at that situation, what do you think about Mike Bloomberg?
I think that Mike Bloomberg is your everyday run-of-the-mill elitist, wealthy, racist white man.
Now, why do you say racist? That's kind of
strong.
Well,
I say that he's racist because stop and frisk, the root of stop and frisk is a racist policy. Mike Bloomberg actually thought that if you go out, you stop and you frisk every Black and brown man of a certain age, you're more likely to decrease crime. He never actually gave any opportunity to understand the reasons that crime is higher in the Black and brown community. He never gave it so much thought to spend any time understanding Black and brown people. He just thought, let's go ahead, throw him up against the wall, pat him down, violate their God-given rights as American citizens because that's the right thing to do. That is inherently racist. You cannot treat Black and brown people differently than you treat white people. You cannot marginalize them more than they actually have been marginalized already by a systemically racist system and be called anything but a racist.
All right, Jordan, let's bring you into this conversation. Hey, he gave out free turkey legs tonight, free chicken tenders.
Don't say that.
Gumbo, and red punch.
That's racist by itself.
He gave it out. I was there.
I feel like
Turkey Leg Hut had several food trucks out there with free turkey. Yeah.
Okay, see,
you missed your thing tonight, huh?
Yeah, like I really did. I love the Turkey Leg Hut, and I love all Black businesses. But I feel like he was pandering to the crowd, and especially where he's on this vibe of for Mike for blank, trying to get every sweet spot. You can't be doing that. This is 2020. We're a little bit smarter this year.
And when you say Mike for Black, you mean Mike for Black America.
Mike for women, Mike for Latinos. Like
Mike
what,
for leprechauns.
Yeah, may as well be.
What are you saying to us? What is Black America? Because when you go overseas, me and you are all called American. So I'm not African American. I'm Black and I'm American.
Well,
and heaven forbid he should actually talk to us about
Justin
the issues.
into this conversation because you used to work for Mike back in 2001 when he was a Republican.
When he pretended to be a Republican.
No, he was.
He's
pretending now.
Okay, let's take it. So you're saying he was pretending to be a Republican. Why do you say that,
Well,
Justin?
okay, back in 2001, when then Mayor Rudy Giuliani, when he was leaving because of term limits, he endorsed Bloomberg, and he said, this is the guy who's going to help us reduce our crime rates. This is the guy who will help our city go into a fiscal positive standing. And then September 11th happened, and then he said, Mike Bloomberg will help us move on to a better, brighter future. So I worked very hard for his election. A lot of other conservatives in New York City did as well. And then he got into office, and then he made a very hard left turn. He didn't stick to the fundamental principles: lower taxes, less government, less regulations. Instead, he had more government, more ridiculous regulations like the soda tax or trying to tax sugar, and he didn't address any of the big issues that faces many major cities across America, which would be fiscal insolvency, just like we're facing right here in Houston. But going back to this whole thing about Mike for blacks, Mike for this, Mike for that, and his apology tour, I think it's patronizing, it's pandering, and most of all, it's pathetic. I take a different point of view. I say if the murder rate was the same when he took office to when he left, you could do some easy math. An additional 22,000 people would have been murdered if the murder rate was the same. I think he should stand up.
So you stand behind stop and frisk.
I stand up behind the rules of it. Now, if people say, hey, civil rights are violated, well, then it should be investigated, and it should be prosecuted if something was wrong. But the rules of stop and frisk are pretty obvious. Someone calls up and said, hey, this guy is acting suspicious. Can you check him out? The police go there, they question him. There's still trouble. They go to the next level. If there's a real problem in terms of someone's civil rights being violated, investigate it.
Okay, he has a coalition of mayors, mainly African-American mayors, supporting him, including Sylvester Turner, Mayor Sylvester Turner here in Houston, the mayor of Washington, D.C. Will that pull black voters into his base?
Well, I certainly hope not. And I'm going to tell you one thing. So next weekend, I and one of my co-organizers, we are hosting the March for Black Women Houston. And the reason that we're hosting the March for Black Women Houston is because we want black women in Houston to understand that the power of our collective vote supersedes the endorsement of Mayor Turner here in Houston. The reality of it is the Republicans don't want Mike Bloomberg, and black people sure do not want Mike Bloomberg. It doesn't matter what Sylvester Turner wants. Because we, the collective black people, we don't want Mike Bloomberg. We don't want stop and frisk. We don't want someone that thinks that it actually makes sense for you to put, I am a black woman. Mike Bloomberg, that stop and frisk, that was my son that he was trying to put up against the wall and violate his amendments.
Now, what about his promises to the black community where he says we're going to have 1 million black homeowners in America with a Cadillac in every yard and a chicken in every pot?
So now he doesn't believe in redlining?
That's hilarious.
Did he really say
No.
Okay, I was like...
That's an old thing from Louisiana and the governor there.
Okay, well, I mean, 1 million black homeowners, great, but make sure they'll be able to keep their houses after you make this little promise, because we are on our way to getting these houses for ourselves. We are building our credit. We are looking at financial standing. But when we've been suppressed for almost 100 years about not having enough financial strength, education, it's like, why are you promising us this now? Are you going to give us 100-acre mules for what we've done?
Black Americans are Americans. I don't like the labels. I think we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same country. I don't like it when we start segregating each individual group. I don't like identity politics. What's good for everyone is the policies we should go for.
When you had 100 years before us, it's not fair.
Right, and identity politics was fine as long as the identity was white and male.
All right.
Exactly.
One thing, y'all miss y'all free turkey legs tonight.